Laurie Wright, also known as Not Your Average Grandma. I created this podcast as a place to go for midlife inspiration. If you are in a stage where you believe the best is behind you, it is my hope that one of these episodes will ignite a long suppressed or unrealized desire, and you will see the potential within yourself just waiting to be tapped, so you can do amazing things with the time you have left. I want you to stop seeing your age as a limitation and start seeing it as your superpower. You have years of experience and value that the younger you never had, so it's time to lean into that and use it to fuel your future. No more letting age hold you back from the pursuit of a more passion-filled life. The more passionate we are, the better the world will be. So stop settling for average, put your AirPods in, and let this episode inspire you to take the first step in transforming your mind, body, and soul. This week's abundance episode is about finding your gifts and getting creative. And I do want to apologize. I'm a day late. I felt yesterday just a real lack of energy after my physical therapy appointment. And I think it's so important that we listen to our bodies. And I also don't want to record a podcast when I'm not feeling my best mentally and physically. And so that's why I should always do them early in the day, because most people, we kind of fade. Some people have more energy later in the evening. I had a boss like that once, but for most of us, our energy, mental energy especially, comes earlier in the day. So, and it was a Friday night. So what I did, believe it or not, is I took a nap. I am not a nap taker. My dad used to take naps all the time. On the weekends, he just lived for his naps. But I just don't take naps. I cannot close my eyes and go to sleep in the middle of the day. So I went and laid down around dinner time, but I slept for an hour and I felt great when I got up and made dinner, and my husband was very happy about that. So anyways, I thought I'm just going to do it when I'm fresh in the morning, because it's a subject that I hold near and dear to my heart, and it's about finding your gifts and getting creative with them. Because so many people say they're not creative, and they really are. They just aren't tapping in and getting quiet, and sometimes they don't even know what their gifts are. So who wants to be creative about anything when they don't know what their gifts are? So I was, of course, inspired by my favorite book, The Simple Abundance book by Sarah Vaughan Brannick. And so I'm going to refer to a couple of excerpts that really struck me. I mean, when I come across an excerpt and it's got like all these highlights, I even use pencil to like underline certain things, and I star them and I make notes on, whether I want to talk about it in the podcast or whether I'm going to add it to my course. And I'm actually creating a new course on abundance that I'm really excited about, which I'll share in a week or so, because I'm doing something else. So I'm doing this month. And it's so funny because I'm using my gifts that I didn't even realize till I was in my 50s, late 50s, like 59 really is when I came into my own. But it started to kind of understand them more when I was 55, when I started to get into like a little side coaching thing. And I just started to get really lit up about that. And so I really am passionate about this subject. And the creativity flows now so much. And so this past month, I've been working on creating new content and being able to, and with creating content comes research as well. And so for me, I get really lit up when I learn something and then I can share it with the world, and whether it's my students or whether it's people that are just connecting with me through my podcast or through social media. So I'm really excited about the things that I'm working on right now. And I think that prompted me to talk about, like, how do you even know what your gifts are? And are you using them? And is it bringing ideas into your head and heart? Because, creativity really ultimately comes from our heart, from our internal being. So I wanted to start with a quote that really struck me. So Sarah says, discerning our personal gifts is essential if we are to experience harmony in our lives. because our gifts carry us out into the world and make us participants in life. The uncovering of them is one of the most important tasks confronting any one of us. When we talk about being true to ourselves, being the persons we are intended to be, we are talking about gifts. We cannot be ourselves unless we are true to our gifts. However, it's difficult to be true to our gifts if we don't know what they are. So this quote really struck me because it's really ultimately about living authentically, because if you're not and don't realize what your gifts are, you're not really living as fully as possible. Because when we use our gifts, it lights us up in the deepest way. So I'm curious if you've ever thought about what your gifts are. We do have a clue, but a lot of times we're just, the world is suppressing them. And maybe you're in a job we're doing. And so every day we go to our job and we're skilled at things, but and we might be using our gifts, but oftentimes we're mistaking our skills for our gifts. So what comes naturally and also what feels good to you? You want to tap into that feeling of, oh, this feels really good. This makes me really happy. This lights me up. So I would suggest that you start to make a list of those things. And people think about job skills when they want to make a list about their gifts. No, think about things that you do, no matter what it is, a behavior that you do that lights you up. So an example, I'll just use myself as an example. So where I mistook my skills for my gifts was I was in the project management world. I was somebody who I worked for software tech companies, and we would have a software development project that we were launching into the world. Worked for AOL for a long time. So if you can imagine, we have some new features we want to roll out in the email system, or, AIM, if you remember AIM, that was AOL Instant Messenger. I was the project manager for that. So my skills at work were, like managing a project, right? That is the skills I used. What was kind of getting the team united on reaching a goal. So kind of herding the cats, and getting everybody to buy in on the objective, communicating to executives. So communication, a big part of that, organizing, making Excel spreadsheets, Gantt charts, prioritization. Love a to-do list, and reorganizing the to-dos. So those are examples of skills that I learned through my job. Or through the job title or the job responsibilities that I had at the time. I didn't realize what my true gifts were until I started to do the work on that and really understood that which lit me up, because it wasn't necessarily managing projects that lit me up, because what I found is when I didn't work with people, then I wasn't lit up. If I was a one person project, oh my gosh, I was miserable. It didn't light me up. So what I found my gifts are, and usually this is something that is your lifelong. It's been something you've known since you were a child, or you've had since you were a child. You may not have been aware of it, but it's something, and probably other people would be able to tell you before you even knew yourself. So I always have had a fascination with people. I've always wondered what makes people tick, and I've always wanted to learn more about people. I've always wanted to dig into the details of, like, why are you not as happy, or why are you struggling? How can I help you? I always wanted to help somebody get into a better place. And so that was kind of my gift. And it's hard to, you think, so that's why we think skill, these job skills, but no, it's like these traits. It's almost like a trait you have, and the behavior behind that trait. So my smile was another gift. So it can be a physical trait as well. And my curiosity. And so, yeah, curiosity is more of a behavior. You wouldn't like associate that with like something that you get hired to do, right? So that's what's so hard about gifts. Gifts are something that you can turn into skills that you use in a job, but we don't necessarily equate them for like a job description. And so that's, I think, where people get really confused, and that's what like I think hurt me in the sense of hurt me that for so long I didn't really understand what lit me up. I knew certain jobs I liked, but I never like pinpointed the reasons for that. So I love that. And so I wanted to refer back to something that Sarah says in the book. She says, even in the black hole of doubt, we want to believe that a force greater than our own power or understanding is with us. And it is. The force is with our authentic self. As Obi-Wan Kenobi tells Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, the Force is an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us, it penetrates us, it binds galaxies together. The Force binds your dreams and desires with your personal gifts so they can find outward expression. Follow your feelings, trust your feelings, the Jedi Knight urges us all, because it is within the Force that we live and move and have our being. So what I love about this is she's saying that we have these gifts, but there's a force greater than us that is knows that we have these gifts and is leading us to use them. And so how do we do that? So I've covered gifts, and what I would love to do is make a list of what you think your gifts are. And using me as an example, what things were maybe you mistook skills for gifts. And now that you're hearing mine, maybe that will help enlighten you on what you've been missing. And aha, yeah, I have these gifts. Now comes the point of using creativity to understand how to use your gifts in the world. So when you realize your gifts, it may be hard to understand how to use them. We often will talk ourselves out of the possibilities that may come to mind, or we are too busy to consider them. We shut down access to source, that inner voice inside of us, which really, if we allow it, will guide us and deliver ideas to us. And this is something I was shut down on for way too long in my life. And I used to think, I'm not creative. I'm not creative at all. Oh, other people are creative. Well, we're all creative souls. We're born very creative. When we're children, we use our creativity all the time. And then the world comes in and, shuts down that access to that for many people. So some people keep their creativity, obviously like people that are gifted in artistry, like painting, singing, those people, they realize their gifts at a very young age. And then in order to hone their gifts, they use their creativity. But for a lot of us, we fall into the world of work and we got to make money and we got to do the thing to survive. And our creativity it just disappears. And we think, oh, I'm not creative. I can't access that. But it's just because you have that conduit shut off. And choosing to use our gifts is a choice. So you must first believe that you do have unique gifts. Only you have them, and you access them when you feel joyous. When you're joyous in doing whatever that thing is, that's what your gift is to the world. Because joy permeates, joy resonates, and it affects everybody around you. So when you come from a place of joy, that is serving the world and serving you in the best way possible. So it starts with a feeling of this joyousness, of this, the best way I always say, you feel lit up. It's a spark inside of you. That's why my school is called the Second Half Spark School, because it's like lighting a spark when you find it. So, but if we find our gifts and we don't use them, that's our choice, right? We deny them. We think, oh, it's too hard. I don't know what I do with my gifts. So a lot of people shut down their gifts because they don't tap into the creativity that's there. So they're very, very much tied together. So again, choosing our gifts is a choice. Our gifts are available to us, but often we don't accept the job. And I think this was very, very powerful. And what Sarah explains is that if we don't accept the job, the great creator in the sky or wherever it is in the universe will find someone else. And it doesn't necessarily mean that your gifts belong to somebody else. It means that the job using those gifts will be done by somebody else. And we do share. I mean, I know there's other people out there who have similar gifts that I do, but they don't have everything all wrapped up into who my being is. So if it comes to your mind, some use of your gifts comes to mind, it belongs, that thought, that idea belongs to the divine mind, the collective. So if you have an idea, you want to act on it. You don't want to leave it on the table. You don't want to push it away. You don't want to wait till a year from now. Realize that once it exists in your mind, other brain waves soon will be able to pick up the creative energy pattern if they are receptive. So if they're in a receiving place, then the great creator will say, okay, you don't want this job? This person looks ready for this job. So think of your mind as a satellite dish, which I love this image. It brought E.T. to mind. You know, they go up and they like trying to reach E.T.'s family. But think of your mind as a satellite dish. Creative celestial messages are continuously being transmitted. The frequency is jammed, privy to your soul only initially. You get the download. I call it a universal download. You get this idea, how to use your gifts. It's kind of this gut instinct. It's not a should. I should do this because the should usually comes from the ego, but the like instantaneous feeling of, oh, this is like this sounds so great. That is coming from that's coming from your gifts. That's using your gifts. But anyways, and the frequencies jam privy to your soul only for an infinitesimal proprietary moment. Just that split second, just long enough to lift up your heart, accept the assignment, and give thanks. And I think this is something that's forgotten by a lot of us, and that is to give thanks. So you get this download, this universal download that might seem crazy, but it lifts up your heart. And you accept the assignment by writing it down, taking note of it. I've been doing a lot of that lately. Like, even if I'm not near a pen or pencil and paper, I'll just whip out my phone and do a little voice note. But giving thanks for it. Thank you, universe, for sending me this amazing idea. Because when you do that, you get more. When you acknowledge the universe for its gift to you of an idea, it will bring you more ideas. It continues to keep that conduit open and accessible. So I love that. And then, she quotes a novelist, Gail Godwin, and she says, some things arrive in their own mysterious hour on their own terms and not yours, to be seized or relinquished forever. So you got to grab that. You got to remember, a lot of times too, when we have these universal downloads, we forget them. That's oftentimes what dreams are. That's why it's so important when you have a dream to write it down and then really analyze it. What is this trying to tell me? What is going on here? I had a dream last night. In fact, I just thought of this. I had a dream last night. It was about football. And it was about organizing we got tickets. We had too many tickets. We were trying to give people tickets. I don't know if I dreamt it because I got to think about this more, but it might be because football season is next. We have our first football game in 2 years. We weren't able to go last year. And so maybe it's just my subconscious being really excited about that event, or maybe there's more to it. So I got to figure that out. But dreams do bring us ideas. And you can even ask before you go to sleep, for answers, or for, if you have bring me uh, an idea for this thing that I'm thinking about. Use your subconscious to be creative, to be the creative conduit for you. I think it's so important, and that's why I'm talking about this today, because for so long, and for most of my listeners, you're the age I am. You might be a little bit younger than me, but really, if you're unsure what your gifts are, do the work. Commit to this month. There's not a lot of time left, but commit over the next 30 days to discovery, acknowledging, appreciating, owning, and honoring your personal gifts. And it starts by figuring out what lights you up, and then using the creativity process, calling into that which is greater than you, the force, as Obi Kenobi says, calling into, let the force be with you. Let it generate ideas. And you have to do that by getting quiet, by having times of meditation, and not like the sitting in the lotus position, holding your fingertips. Meditation can be in many forms: silent walks, just sitting on the couch, staring out a window into nature, walking on the beach, whatever you want to do. But solitary moments where you have access, you have an ability to hear that which nobody else can hear. These messages, asking if you're up for the job, and the job will come, because I think about my life and what I do now, and it's so totally nothing I ever thought I could like earn money from, because I had no qualifications. I didn't have like, I wasn't a therapist. I thought I had to go back to school. I don't want to go back to school. But every time I saw something about, this is a life coach. Oh, she does this. I was always like, it always was like intriguing to me. It was always like, ooh, I wish I could do that. Oh, but I can't. That's the ego shutting me down. That's the world saying, oh, it doesn't fit what, your skills are. But really, my gifts, it aligns with what my gifts are. And then I was like, okay, I now know that this is what I want to do. This is what I like to do. This is how I want to help people. I want them to find more purpose in life. I want to help them get from point A to point B so they feel happier. So how do I begin to do that? And so then that's where the ideas started coming from. And now the ideas just kind of like come so often to me. Once you hone into that, which are your gifts, and then open that conduit to creativity, the ideas will flow so rapidly that you then have to be really good at picking and choosing, because you can get overwhelmed with all the great ideas that you have. And to think that somebody who was not creative is all of a sudden like this, I don't want to say creative genius, but this creative juices are flowing. It's like I have a cow that is producing all of this creative juice every day. I can't, it keeps coming out, like a milk would come out of the cow. So it just keeps coming, and then I have to like pick and choose what are the best things that I can act on that will help who I want to help the most. So it's really great when that creativity happens, and it gets me excited. And oftentimes what happens is, because you have these gifts now and you have all this creativity, you just want to do as much as you can to use that. And so then that comes into a whole nother subject of, okay, now you're creative. Now, how are you going to apply this creativity? How are you going to structure this creativity? And that comes too. That comes with guidance. That comes with, because at this point, you're living from such a joyous place that you trust. You also are not even just coming from this joyous place, but you trust. You trust that this force is with you, and that it will guide you. It will guide you to take the next right step if you just continue to listen. All right. So that's what I have today for you. Find your gifts and get creative about them. It's so important that you are here. You came here to Earth in this body, in this life that you have right now that's so valuable with gifts. And if you don't know what those gifts are, that should be your number one job, is to find out what those gifts are and get creative about how to use those gifts, how the world can be better with you applying these gifts. So hopefully my example helped. It was really eye-opening once I figured out, oh my gosh, my skills and my gifts, it's like two different things. And so no wonder why I'm not happy in my job. No wonder why I'm so lit up now, because I'm actually using them. So, all right, have a great weekend. See you next week. Thank you so much for tuning into the Not Your Average Lives podcast. If you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe on iTunes if you have an Apple device. You can find free resources and learn what else I have going on at the moment that might interest you on my website at notyouraveragegrandma.com. You can also find me on Instagram or Facebook at notyouraveragegrandma. If you liked this episode, it would make my heart so happy if you could leave me a 5-star rating. You can also add a review to let me know what you like about this podcast, which will help spread the word about it to others who need a little midlife inspiration. As always, be you, listen to your inner voice, and focus on reigniting that lost spark so you can start living your own, not your average life.